When Jason landed his first big promotion, he should have been over the moon. His salary nearly doubled. He got the job everyone wanted. And for the first time, he could finally help his family fix up his apartment, plan a vacation. But something unexpected happened. Friends started drifting away. His old crew stopped inviting him out. Childhood buddies cracked jokes about him acting like one of those rich guys. At a family gathering, someone said, "Don't forget where you came from. Money won't buy your respect." Jason smiled awkwardly, but inside, something broke. Days later, he began turning down opportunities, passed on speaking gigs, declined partnership offers, felt ashamed to talk about work, avoided anything that showed he was doing better. It wasn't fear or insecurity. It was something more subtle, more toxic. It was disgust, disguised as judgment. A disgust that came from outside but grew inside. Like being rich was dirty. Like making money was a betrayal. And the question is, where does this come from? Where does this distrust, this discomfort, this silent revulsion toward those who climb fast, who earn more, who break the scarcity cycle, where does it come from? Maybe you never said it out loud. Maybe you think it doesn't affect you. But pay attention. When someone around you gets rich, what's the first thing you feel? Inspiration or irritation? Admiration or judgment? It might seem subtle, but the hard truth is, you were probably taught from an early age to feel disgust toward those who get rich, and worse, to carry that disgust inside you, even when the rich person is you. Today, here on Cashphrenia, we're going to dig up a belief that works in the shadows. We'll show how this silent repulsion, planted by culture, ideology, or even social trauma, sabotages your financial freedom, and how to spot the signs before it's too late. In the United States, you've probably heard it at some point. Even if you don't remember when or where, rich people only get rich by stepping on others. It's a short phrase, but it carries a heavyweight one that's been repeated at family dinners, classrooms, in movies, on social media, and everywhere in between. No matter where you come from, chances are you've absorbed, whether consciously or not, the idea that getting rich means doing something wrong. This idea is so deeply ingrained that it becomes part of our collective mindset, influencing how we see wealth and success, and more importantly, how we see ourselves. When we start to accumulate money, deep down you believe that people who get rich are greedy, dishonest, or selfish. What happens when you begin to climb the ladder? What happens when you start earning more than those around you? The answer is simple but painful. You self-sabotage. It's a slow, invisible process. The closer you get to financial success, the louder the voice inside you grows, the voice telling you that you don't deserve it, that you're becoming one of those people, that you're betraying your roots. This inner conflict can drain your motivation, block your decisions, and make you doubt your worth. This is not just theory. It's real for many people. You want to grow, but you also want to fit in. You want to succeed, but you're afraid of being judged, resented, or isolated. So you pull back. You hide your achievements. You play small. You repeat the limiting stories you've been told because it's safer. Why is this happening? Because somewhere along the way, society taught us that wealth equals corruption, that money is dirty, that having too much makes you less human. From childhood, we learn to admire the humble and honest, and to distrust the ambitious and wealthy. The rags to riches stories we love often end with a warning: don't lose your soul while climbing the ladder. These messages come from parents, teachers, friends, movies, and even politics. They are part of a cultural script that shapes our beliefs without us realizing it. It's a story told so often and so consistently that it becomes the truth for many. But what if it's not? What if these beliefs are distortions? What if they hold you back from the very thing you want most? Financial freedom. In this episode of Cashphrenia, we will unpack this invisible pattern. We'll dive into how these cultural beliefs quietly sabotage your financial growth. We'll look at the psychological traps, the cognitive biases, and the social pressures that make you feel guilty for prospering. We'll share real stories like Jason S. Analyze how this invisible wall forms between you and your financial goals. Because understanding the root of this problem is the first step toward breaking free. The truth is, the issue is not just a lack of money. It's the invisible narrative you carry inside about what money means. And until you confront and rewrite that narrative, your own mind may stand in the way of your success. Jason grew up in a tight-knit, working-class neighborhood in Detroit. His family lived paycheck to paycheck, often juggling bills and prioritizing essentials over anything extra. Luxury was a foreign concept, a distant dream whispered in quiet moments. But despite the challenges, Jason carried a quiet fire inside him: hunger to break free from the cycle of scarcity that had held his family back for generations. From a young age, he showed signs of that drive. At just 10 years old, Jason helped his mother sell homemade baked goods at the local farmer's market. He watched how every dollar earned was stretched thin, but also how a little extra money meant hope a chance to breathe easier for a day or two. At school, while other kids were focused on video games and hanging out, Jason was teaching himself basic computer skills. By 15, he was building simple websites for small local businesses, hustling to earn a few extra bucks after school. Around him, the world was sending mixed signals. On one hand, he heard success stories, rags to riches tales on TV and the internet. Stories about people making it big despite humble beginnings. On the other hand, the voices closer to home often warned him to stay grounded. Phrases like, "Don't forget where you come from," "Money changes people," "Rich folks aren't to be trusted," were repeated so often that they became part of his internal soundtrack. But Jason was different. For him, money wasn't about greed or status. It was about freedom. Freedom to make choices. Freedom to help his family. Freedom to build something lasting. He saw money as a tool, not a measure of character. At 22, armed with self-taught skills and relentless determination, Jason took a leap of faith and launched a digital marketing startup from his small, cluttered apartment. The skepticism was immediate and loud. Friends joked, "You think you're the next Zuckerberg or something?" Family members expressed concern, warning, "Don't get your hopes up too high. It's a tough world out there." Yet, Jason ignored the noise and focused on the grind. The first year was brutal. Long nights, tight budgets, constant rejections. But Jason kept pushing. Slowly, clients began to trickle in. Word spread. 2 years later, his company was bringing in 6 figures a month. He hired 2 friends from childhood, rented a small office downtown, and most importantly, took his mother on her first vacation in decades. Those moments should have been pure joy, but they came with an unexpected cost. The deeper Jason climbed, the more he felt the walls closing in. Casual comments from old friends cut deeper than he expected. Jason acts like he's better than us now. He's changed. At family dinners, subtle jabs floated through the air. Don't let the money get to your head. You're forgetting where you came from. At work, he found himself shrinking in meetings, avoiding the spotlight, and hesitating to share his wins publicly. On social media, he stopped posting about new deals or milestones. He wore simpler clothes, talked less about money, and told himself, "I'm still the same person. Money hasn't changed me." But beneath the surface, a quiet storm raged. Jason wrestled with a deep sense of shame for wanting more. Shame for standing out. Shame for breaking a silent social code. The more he earned, the more isolated he felt. Success began to feel like a betrayal, as if every dollar came at the cost of belonging. And so, slowly, Jason started turning down bigger clients. He avoided growth opportunities. He scaled back his ambitions, not because he lacked skill or vision, but because he feared becoming the rich guy he'd been warned about. The arrogant, selfish, disconnected person. This internal battle is the hidden story of countless Americans. The real challenge isn't just how to make money or build a business as how to navigate the invisible social pressures that tell you, "Don't get too rich. Don't stand out too much. Don't leave others behind." For Jason and many like him, the rise was real, but the weight of cultural shame threatened to pull him back down. Because success is never just about dollars, it's about identity, acceptance, and the stories we tell ourselves about who we deserve to be. Jason's fall didn't happen overnight. There was no dramatic crash or sudden failure. Instead, it was a slow, creeping decline, like a leak in a dam that eventually weakens the entire structure without anyone noticing until it's almost too late. After 3 years of steady growth, Jason began to feel strangely disconnected from his own company. The passion that once fueled his late nights and early mornings started to fade. Meetings became a chore. Proposals sat unanswered. Tasks piled up, and he found himself pushing important decisions to the back burner. On the surface, everything looked fine. The business was still profitable. Clients were still coming in. But inside, Jason felt drained, exhausted not by the work itself, but by the emotional weight of carrying a success he secretly feared. It wasn't fear of failure that held him back. It was something deeper. Fear of becoming the very thing he was taught to despise. The rich, the greedy, the sellout. One night, after sharing a big client win on social media, Jason was flooded with comments. Some were supportive, but others were sharp and biting. "So, now you're one of them, huh? Just wait till the money changes you. Don't forget us, little people." Jason deleted the post almost immediately. Another time, he bought a modest new car, a personal milestone, not an extravagance. But when an uncle made a joking comment about money laundering, Jason felt a familiar sting of shame. What should have been a proud moment felt tainted. Step by step, Jason started to shrink back. He stopped investing in new projects. He stopped marketing his services. He avoided networking events where his success might be spotlighted. None of this was conscious self-sabotage, it was emotional survival. Jason's brain was doing what it had been wired to do: protect him from social rejection. Because in his world, getting too successful meant risking alienation from the people he cared about most. But that protection came at a cost. The business plateaued. Key employees left. Competitors moved ahead. And Jason, once the hungry entrepreneur, began doubting his own role as a leader. One sleepless night, sitting alone with his laptop, Jason stared at a blank screen for what felt like hours. The weight of his unspoken fears crushed him, and for the first time, he let himself cry. Not for lost clients or shrinking revenue, for the dream that felt just out of reach, for the silent prison built from invisible rules and unspoken judgments. In therapy, something he started at his partner's insistence, Jason was asked a question that would change everything. Do you want to succeed for yourself, or are you trying to avoid being hated for succeeding? He had no answer. That moment marked the beginning of awareness. The realization that the enemy wasn't team money or ambition, it was the story he'd been told about money. The belief that wealth corrupts, that success divides, that ambition betrays community. Jason was trapped in a cultural cage, one invisible to outsiders, but crushing to those inside it. And this cage isn't unique to Jason. It's a pattern, a psychological trap that keeps millions stuck. The fall isn't about lack of talent or hard work. It's about the fear of success disguised as shame. Jason's story is not unique. It reflects a widespread and deeply ingrained psychological pattern that many Americans live through without even realizing it. At the core of this pattern lies a subtle but powerful error in the way we associate wealth with morality. This error isn't just a surface-level belief. It's an emotional programming that shapes how we feel about money and about ourselves when we begin to acquire it. Growing up, many of us hear mixed messages. On one hand, we're encouraged to work hard, chase dreams, and succeed. On the other, we're warned against becoming that kind of person. The greedy, selfish, or disconnected rich individual who betrays their roots. This contradiction creates what psychologists call cognitive dissonance, a mental tug-of-war where part of us desires financial success, but another part resists it fiercely. This internal conflict triggers a powerful psychological alarm system. When you start making progress toward financial freedom, your mind senses a threat not from external forces, but from your own beliefs and fears. It pushes back with feelings of shame, guilt, and self-doubt. The result? You hesitate. You second-guess yourself. You unconsciously create barriers to keep yourself safe. This is the invisible force behind self-sabotage, which shows up as procrastination, avoiding risks, hiding achievements, or undervaluing your work. The root of this conflict isn't money itself, it's identity. If you've been raised to see wealthy people as less authentic or less trustworthy, then gaining wealth can feel like a betrayal of who you are or where you come from. It feels like stepping into a group that you were taught to fear or despise. And humans, more than anything, crave belonging. We want to be accepted by our families, friends, and communities. So even when we dream of financial independence, part of us pulls back to avoid social rejection. This creates a psychological prison without walls. The fear of exclusion is a more powerful motivator than most people realize. Many would rather stay small and fit in than risk standing out and being isolated Devon if it means limiting their potential and happiness. Understanding this invisible social pressure is crucial. Because once you realize that the shame and resistance around money are learned responses, not inherent truths, you gain the power to change. You can begin to challenge and rewrite the stories you tell yourself about wealth. You can separate money from morality, success from betrayal. You can learn that it's possible to be rich and good-hearted, ambitious and generous, successful and authentic. Jason's journey teaches us that the fight for financial freedom is first and foremost a battle within the mind and heart. Breaking free from this trap means facing uncomfortable truths, questioning long-held beliefs, and choosing to rewrite your identity on your own terms. And that is the real beginning of prosperity. Jason's story isn't just about success and failure, it's about awakening. What held him back wasn't a lack of talent, poor timing, or bad decisions. It was something far more subtle, but no less powerful. The internalized shame of wanting more. Shame about ambition. Shame about standing out. Shame about breaking the unspoken social rules that whisper, don't get too rich. Don't shine too bright. Don't leave others behind. This shame runs deep in American culture. It's a legacy woven through family conversations, popular media, school lessons, and even political rhetoric. Wealth is often painted as suspicious, greed as a moral failing, and success as a kind of betrayal. But here's the truth that almost nobody says out loud. You were never meant to carry that shame. It was handed down generation after generation, like an invisible burden no one dared to question. Now, you have a choice. Will you keep carrying that weight, or will you start to question it, challenge it, and break free? Because breaking free from this shame is about more than just money. It's about reclaiming your freedom. Freedom to dream without guilt. Freedom to pursue opportunities without fear. Freedom to define success on your own terms, not the terms set by others. And this freedom is available to everyone willing to take the first step. Here are some practical, actionable steps to begin that journey. 1. Recognize your invisible scripts. Start paying close attention to the messages you've absorbed about money, wealth, and success. These may be subtle, a phrase your parents repeated, a cultural stereotype, or an internal voice of doubt. Write them down. Confront them honestly. Which beliefs serve your growth? Which ones keep you stuck in a cycle of limitation and fear? 2. Reframe your beliefs. Challenge the negative narratives. Replace rich people are greedy. With wealth can be a force for good. Swap money is dirty, for money is a tool that can amplify my values. This rewiring takes time, but is essential to shift your mindset from scarcity to abundance. 3. Seek out new role models. Surround yourself with stories and people who embody integrity and success together. Follow entrepreneurs, activists, and creators who prove that wealth and generosity are not mutually exclusive. Let their journeys inspire and expand your definition of what's possible. 4. Practice small acts of financial courage. Speak openly about money with trusted friends or mentors. Celebrate your wins and small ones. Take risks that stretch your comfort zone but are calculated and aligned with your goals. Each step forward weakens the grip of shame and builds your confidence. 5. Find support and community. Breaking free from shame isn't easy alone. Whether through therapy, coaching, or honest conversations with trusted people, find allies who understand your journey and can hold space for your growth. Accountability and empathy can accelerate your transformation. Remember, the journey toward financial freedom is also a journey toward self-acceptance. When you stop fearing judgment and start embracing your worthiness, everything changes. The path becomes clearer, decisions come easier, opportunities multiply, and the rewards aren't just financial, they're deeply personal: peace of mind, authentic joy, and a life lived on your terms. Jason's story could be your story too. The question is, are you ready to rewrite the narrative? Because the power to change your financial future starts with changing your story about money, success, and yourself. Now, I want to hear from you. Have you ever noticed yourself feeling uneasy or even ashamed when the topic of money or success comes up? Maybe you've held back from sharing your wins or downplayed your ambitions because of what friends, family, or society might think. Perhaps you've avoided conversations about your finances altogether, fearing judgment or alienation. If any of that resonates with you, I encourage you to leave a comment below. It doesn't have to be a long story. Even a single word or feeling is enough. Sometimes, just recognizing that you're not alone in this invisible struggle is the first step toward breaking free from these limiting beliefs. Here at Cashphrenia, our mission is to uncover the hidden beliefs and silent barriers that shape how we relate to money, success, and ourselves. If this video opened your eyes to something you hadn't noticed before, be sure to subscribe and click the notification bell so you won't miss future videos that dive deep into the psychology behind wealth and the mindset shifts that can change your life. And if you know someone who might be caught in the same invisible traps, someone who feels stuck, guilty, or ashamed about pursuing financial growth, please share this video with them. Sometimes a single message can be the spark that lights the way to a new beginning. Thank you so much for watching all the way through. Your presence here means more than you realize. Remember, changing the story you tell yourself about money is the first and most important step toward transforming your life. I'll see you in the next video.